coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
Come on and welcome aboard. Indiana Sports Beat coming to you from hole number 6 here at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Thursday. Jim Coyle with you as always. Dustin Schutte as well. Have some others here in a little bit, but plenty to talk about. Last night, Indiana on the basketball court. We've got plenty of football stuff to talk about. Dustin Schutte, I'll let you take care of that. How you doing, man?
Hey, Jim, I'm doing well. I've got plenty to talk about today, but otherwise doing pretty well. How about yourself?
Just a later night. Could have been worse, though. Luckily, they moved last night's Indiana basketball game with Florida State up. It was originally scheduled to tip at 9:15. With the cancellations, they were able to move that up, thank goodness, because, man, those 9 o'clock games are just horrible for everybody. I can't imagine the players, but I don't want to deal with that. Of course, well, this winter when we get cold, there's nothing going on, right? Where's my 9 o'clock basketball game? But a good performance by Indiana on the roll. They end up losing to Florida State, to the Seminoles. But, man, I'm going to tell you, we did the postgame show with Todd Leary, and I was just shocked. Indiana was in that game from the word go, battled, could have won it. But the sheer fact, I thought that was going to be a game that they were 10 points out from the tip. And by halftime, they were down 8 or so, and then 10-12 by the end of the game. That never materialized. Indiana battled and battled against a team that's very long, very, very tall. 3 guys over 6'10 or 6'11, I can't remember. Average height of 6'6", 4th tallest team in the country. And Indiana is not that. You don't have Joey Brunk. Al Durham he's surprisingly good last night. But they battled, but they're still, man, they're not there. They cannot hit shots. And I don't care who you are. It's a game, basketball is a game of hitting shots, man. You got to put the ball in the hoop.
Yeah, and we saw
doesn't matter.
Yeah, we saw that, a week ago against Texas, and I kind of wonder what Indiana's outlook was going to be this game, because knowing of Florida State's length, knowing how good they can be defensively. But I think the one thing you have to take away from this is, a week ago against Texas when this happened, they got blown out of the gym. They got the doors blown off of them. Didn't have really any answer for the Longhorns. This time, even though they didn't shoot the ball particularly well, neither team did, but they found ways to stay in the game. The rebounding battle, even though they came up short on the rebounding end towards the end of that game on the short end, they found ways to that matchup was pretty much even. So I think there was some promise there. Obviously, the result is not what you want to see, but at the same time, this was a team that was not shooting the ball well and found ways to stay in the game. And as you mentioned, from the opening tip, it looked like Florida State was going to run away with this game. They jumped out to the 8-2 lead. Archie Miller has to call a quick timeout, and boy, they responded pretty quickly. And in the past, that's just not what we've seen from this team. So even though it's a loss and you drop to 3-2 on the season, I think that there's some positive things to take away from that game last night if you watch it from start to finish.
Absolutely, especially knowing how rugged the Big Ten is going to be. I talked about teams like Illinois and Iowa who are big, but they're not the only teams. There's going to be a lot of size in the Big Ten to deal with. But, man, Trace Jackson Davis he grew up. That Texas game, he got beat up is what happened. He went out in the alley and he jumped him and he kicked his butt and he got beat up and he went home and his mom and dad said, look, toughen him up, sent him back out and said, you got to go back out and fight those guys. And that's exactly what he did. And he was having fun. He looked like he was having fun, battling. And that's what you have. That's what it has to be. It has to be a challenge to him to get through that. And I think just that one game, it was just such a surprise. He didn't have a lot of help. Didn't have Joey Brunk out there. But, man, he was a different guy yesterday. And you cannot be anything but happy if you're a Hoosier fan, because that's going to be good news going forward. He's just going to get better. He's just got to have some damn help. You got to hit. You got to shoot. You got to loosen the middle up, man. It's a simple thing. It's not like anybody's figuring this out. That it's easy.
Yeah, and the one thing that, if people are on social media or Twitter or whatever, you would probably know this, or if you read the morning paper or the storyline, it was, Trace Jackson Davis said in the postgame that he basically got on some of his teammates, that they have to play better, that they have to give more energy right from the very beginning. And we talk about the past couple seasons, Indiana has not had that leader on the floor and in the locker room. And that's a tough thing to ask, especially for a sophomore, but he seemed to have taken on that role. This isn't just about Trace Jackson Davis getting 25 points and boosting his draft stock. He wants to win in Indiana. And the fact that he's going into the locker room, challenging those guys, some of those guys who are, have been there quite a while, and saying, we have to play better. We have to win basketball games. I think that's another really positive thing. But, down the I'd like to get your opinion on this, Jim, but I thought down the stretch, it seemed like they weren't making a concerted effort until the final minute or so to get Trace Jackson Davis the ball. I would have liked to see him get the ball a little bit more around the basket there because he was eating up Florida State. And I know that they threw some double teams at him and were throwing up mixed defenses at him all through the night. But it seemed like there where they had an opportunity to maybe get some buckets and pull away, but they went away from Trace Jackson Davis. And I'm trying to figure out why they did that in that overtime stretch.
I think sometimes it takes one thing to alter your focal point and just for a brief minute or two, because when you're in an overtime period, it doesn't take long. It just, everything looks bigger then because everything is so much more condensed. But I think that it's just one of those situations where that was probably the plan, but Florida State probably helped blow that up. Maybe I'd have to go back and rewatch part of it last night, but that's the thing. You've got to be disciplined in the head to no matter what, to be able to do what you need to do. And there has to be a plan B that'll work. And I just don't see that. That's okay. They battled last night. If you looked at the stats, I mean, they were equal to, they shot equally to Florida State. Florida State just shot more. They got off 12 more shots than Indiana did. 12. That's a lot of opportunities. And when you in a game that ended up being by 2 points, getting those shots off, it mattered a lot. Indiana, of course, still not shooting from behind the 3-point line, 27%, 4 of 15. But man, the free throw shooting has just turned around. There was so many complaints, and rightfully so, at the start of the year because they just couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. But I think that was a mental thing, and this kind of bears that out. When you start hitting all of a sudden, how do you go from high 50% to 70%? Well, you're paying attention, I guess. You're more focused. So, but that's good to see. But yeah, the rebounding. Yeah, I think they were out rebounding Florida State for most of the night. Where are the total rebounds? That was tied. It ended up being 44. Tied. So you tied with that team. That's a win. That team is so much bigger. So that's a win. That's battling there. I think it was who was it? Rob Franklin, who was one of the guards that had 8. Armand Franklin, 8 boards. I mean, that's getting busy. He also had 9 points. Armand Franklin has really been working hard. You got just a couple of the freshmen in. Galloway, he was 0 for 3, but they're trying. Let's see, Christian Lander only took a shot. Those are the 2 freshmen that we're seeing, and I think we're going to see the most of as this thing gets tighter. I think that Geronimo is still just raw. He's such a great athlete, but he's still so raw within the confines of this level of basketball. The intensity is, when you play high school sports, there are a lot of intense moments in the game. When you play at this level, it's an intense moment the entire game. The intensity does not stop, and you have to keep that level up. And the team that doesn't is the team that loses. But that's the thing with these freshmen. We're going to see less and less, I think. But maybe it's looking like Leo and Lander or the 2 guys we see the most of from that class right now.
Yeah, and you never know. I mean, they could carve out a spot in the rotation. I mean, what Indiana really needs, I mean, I was thinking this last night too. If Indiana can get somebody who can get an open look and knock down a 3-point shot, they could be one of the more dangerous teams in the Big Ten because they have everything else they need. They got a guy, they got plenty of guys who are out there rebounding, getting loose balls. They're doing the little things that they haven't done in the previous 3 seasons, and they've got that interior guy. You look at guys like Kofi Coburn at Illinois, Luka Garza at Iowa. I'm not going to put Trace Jackson Davis is probably the 2nd or 3rd best in the Big Ten in that category, but they just don't. Those other 2 teams, Illinois and Iowa, and some of the other teams in the Big Ten, they have perimeter shooters. They have guys who can knock down those 3-point shots.
Iowa's killing it.
And their ball movement is so good, and I think Indiana has enough good passers on that team to where they can move the ball. They just don't have that as a threat right now. But if they can develop that, and like I said, maybe that's going to be the focal point for some of these freshmen to carve out a role. You never know. But I think that you bring up a good point with the intensity of the 40 minutes, and I think that's why it's really good that Indiana is playing teams like Texas and Florida State and Stanford, Providence early in the season, because this Big Ten season is going to be a grind. We talk about this is going to be the best conference in college basketball, and I don't think it's going to be particularly close. I mean, on Tuesday night, the Big Ten defeated the ACC 6-1 in those first night of games. So you have to be ready. And even though, like I said, these games aren't coming out, you lose to Texas in a blowout, you drop a heartbreaker to Florida State, but you're getting that experience and you know what it's going to be like, because what you just went through last night, that's going to be the entirety of the Big Ten season, no matter who you're playing, whether it's Illinois, Iowa, or whether it's Northwestern or Nebraska. It's going to be a grind all season. So they're getting good non-conference experience right now.
Absolutely. And hopefully we can, it's going to be interesting to see getting through these holidays. There was a big spike in COVID numbers right after Thanksgiving in the state of Indiana. As a matter of fact, Indiana is leading in the country at 1,000 per million, I think, right after the holidays, which Indiana's not big enough they should not be doing that. There's only 4 million people in the state, but let's hope that things continue and we can get things back down and high school sports can continue. I hate seeing those kids not get to participate and do that. There's nothing more horrible, especially if you're a senior. For any of them, right. I don't care if I'm a freshman. I wouldn't want to miss a minute, but senior, I mean, what else do you have to say? Being the senior kids. So, man, everybody needs to continue to do everything we need to do to keep us. We're not there yet, man. Wait till we get the vaccine, and then you can go all willy-nilly, but let's get there first.
Yeah, we got to definitely get there. And I think basically what we've seen, we saw a few cancellations already with the basketball season. But the one thing I will say that seems to be a little bit more promising on the basketball front is there's a little bit more flexibility with the schedule. So teams who cancel are going to be able to potentially reschedule games. You saw Wisconsin had their game against Louisville canceled. They were able to schedule Rhode Island. And Michigan, same thing. They were able to schedule Toledo, I think it was, after NC State had to pull out at the last second. So I think that you'll be able to see teams maybe reschedule because, you know, you want to prepare, obviously. You want those 3 to 4 days to prepare for every opponent. But at the same time, basketball, you don't need that week-long preparation like you do in football. To an extent, it's basically you got to go out there and you got to play. So I think that I think we'll see something similar as to what we saw in the football season, where you're going to see cancellations. There's just no way around it. It's 2020. It's going to be 2021 too. But at the same time, like I said, I think that we'll see more postponements. I think you can see games be made up easier, and I think you can see some rescheduling happen throughout this year. So I have a little bit more optimism that we're going to see a lot more basketball games this year just because of the flexibility of the schedule. But man, yeah, if we can get this nipped in the bud and we can, you know, get on the back end of this and have no hiccups in December and January, that would be ideal.
4-star quarterback Taven Jackson, brother of Trace Jackson Davis that we just spoke of. He's getting offers from all over now at quarterback from Center Grove, just recently off of a state champion. Man, I watched that game. That team is machine-like, and he's a junior. They've got that was not. I'm like, who in the world is going to beat that team? It was funny to watch him, but he said a lot of teams have reached out and have a lot of interest. Jackson said he told Rivals. He just got off the phone with Michigan the other day. Got off the phone with Wisconsin and then Missouri. So his interest he's just a junior. He just finished his junior year. That interest is going to continue to go up. When you win a 6A title in any state, you're going to get interest, and he is just going to continue. Plus, Indiana's quarterback room, what's it going to be like? I've got to sit down and look what's it going to be like then. Michael Penix, Jack Tuttle, Donovan McCulley coming in. You've already got Dexter in there now. That's a lot of names. Of course, we're talking 2 years from now of him actually being on campus. So,
right.
One of those names definitely would take care of itself, at least.
Yeah, I mean, I think Indiana has a great shot, not just because obviously Trace Jackson Davis is at IU, but because of the season Indiana has had and the culture that Tom Allen's built. I think he has a great opportunity to commit to Indiana. But the big question is, Tom Allen can't stop his recruiting. He cannot stop recruiting good quarterbacks just because he thinks he might land, somebody else. So he has to. It's going to be interesting because that is going to be a crowded quarterback room here over the next few years. We might start calling Indiana quarterback U, who knows? But at the same time, he's got to make a decision. And if he thinks he can play immediately somewhere else, that might be his where his calling is. So it's going to be interesting to see. It's always fun to follow these recruits because where you think they're favored to go, sometimes they flip at the last second. And again, kids are wanting to get on the field earlier now, so he may bypass Indiana, even though, like I said, like you said, he's got a lot of ties there.
Well, and it's not just Michigan, Wisconsin, and Missouri. That was just the start of that list. Yeah. LSU, Georgia, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Clemson, Washington State, and Oregon, also schools that have contacted Jackson recently. His current timeline for a decision gives those schools time to develop a relationship with the Indiana quarterback. Like I said, he's just a junior, so that interest is only going to continue to go up. But this is going to be interesting to see. That's what I'm talking about this with Indiana's recruiting. Oh, wow, we're way late. Got to get off here. But we'll talk about that when we come back. Is this going to – Indiana's got to get to the point to where when you got a guy like this and he's the top recruit in your state and LSU and Michigan, all these guys are coming, you got to get to where you get him. That I want to see when Indiana gets to that point, then they're up there. They're not there yet. They've never had a 5-star yet. We'll talk about that. Also, the bucket game canceled. We got that to talk about. Plenty. The Big Ten football. We got lots to talk about here. We'll be back. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Back with more right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Hey, this is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're now a part of the Rivals Network. TheHoosier.com is where you'll find complete coverage of the Indiana Hoosiers, as well as coverage of the Big Ten. Simply go to TheHoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also catch Indiana Sports Beat Radio there each day at your convenience, or you can find it any place you podcast or on this station each weekday. If we're not on the station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
Does your bank offer the personal service of a community bank combined with big bank products that you expect? I'm Dane Chandler, Banking Center Manager with Banterra, and with our bank, you get the best of both worlds. Our easy-to-use mobile app includes conveniences like mobile check deposit. We offer competitive CD and money market rates, smart mortgage options, and unmatched business products and services. Switching to Banterra is easy. Stop by our locations to learn more. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
The college and pro football seasons bring friends together, and Leroy's Tavern is a place to watch all the games every week with the NFL Sunday Ticket while enjoying $1 Busch Light drafts every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. Leroy's Tavern also features a $6 daily lunch special from 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Monday through Friday, featuring a sandwich, fries, or onion rings, or a 7-inch pizza and a non-alcoholic drink for just $6. Be part of the karaoke fun every Friday and Saturday night. Leroy's Tavern, a West Side tradition for 50 years at 2659 Mount Vernon Avenue.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat. I like that cool little riff there. What is that, Noah? Will?
That's called Texas Sun.
Who is that?
I can't even pronounce the name. Leon Bridges is one of the guys.
That was cool, man. I like that, man. That was some smooth comeback music. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat. Coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios here on this Thursday. Dustin Schutte sitting in as always. Later we'll talk to who are we talking to? Oh, you can't hear. Adam Spencer is going to join us from down south. We'll talk some more basketball. Just finished up talking about Taven Jackson receiving offers from all over the place. But, of course, not surprising that as his stock will continue to rise up. But Indiana Hoosiers taking on the chin last night in a battle down in Tallahassee as they lose in an overtime 69-67 Florida State. But it has to be a good sign for everybody looking forward. But something that's not a good sign, and I know Dustin's having trouble hearing me right now, but the Onoken Bucket canceled yesterday. That was not fun to see, Dustin. Indiana-Purdue, one of the latest rivalry game to get canceled. I forget how many years. It's over 100 years. But yeah. It's like now, and the Paul Bunyan Acts with Wisconsin. Now, something that somebody said last night, I was watching the Big Show on the BTN, and I think it was Dave Repson who kind of just threw this out there, and I never thought about it. It makes sense. Next week for the crossover game, instead of doing this crossover, trying to get back some of these lost games like Indiana-Purdue, Wisconsin-Minnesota. And I'm like, Indiana needs to play and beat Iowa, I think. But maybe not. They're sitting in that 12th spot. The reason that 12th spot is so important is because New Year's 6 bowl games.
Yeah.
Do the math.
Yeah.
New Year's 6. There are 6 New Year's bowl games. How many teams? 12. So you want to be in the top 12. Indiana's precariously sitting in that 12th spot, which is a bunch of crap. We're going to talk about that. The Ohio State thing, you learn to deal with that. Let's see if the college football, those guys are clowns, and they've got an agenda, and it's obvious. It's ridiculously. I mean, they're not even trying to hide it. The thing is, I can't stand. It's a state, but it's the same thing with the Ohio State deal. I can live with it a lot easier if they would just get off their lazy butts and stand up and say, "All right, guys, here's the deal. We're doing what we think is best for the Big Ten Conference. We need to get our share of the money grab out of that, and so we got to set up Ohio State the best so we can do the best for the conference." I can probably work with that, and you deal with it. But no, they want to stand up there and pee down your back and tell you it's raining, and right. They want you to just swallow that whole. And no, I'm not going to do that because I know better. And it's the same thing with this college football playoff deal. You can't move Iowa State up 4 spots because they beat an average team and then have Indiana go on the road, beat a ranked team for the 3rd time, and have Gary Barta say, well, they don't have any top 25 wins and blah, 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 blah. They had a new quarterback. And that makes it even worse and harder. They continue to succeed no matter what. It's just, you can tell they're intent on ignoring. And I don't know if Indiana's the only school. But why? Why Indiana? What is it doing for them? Why?
Yeah, you know what you did last week that is still resonating with me is that you pointed to your chest there, and it's the name across the front of the jersey, and that's what it's got to be to me. I was trying to figure out yesterday after the Big Ten made the decision to give Ohio State the nod to play in the Big Ten championship game, which was the bigger slap in the face to Indiana, whether it was being left out of the Big Ten championship game or whether it was still being ranked number 12 in the college football playoff rankings, because I think you can make a legitimate case for both. The thing that I took away from the college football playoff ranking show on Tuesday night was the fact that instead of saying, you know what, Indiana went on the road, played a really good Wisconsin game, and won without their starting quarterback, instead they're sending the message that, you know what, Wisconsin must not be very good this season if they're losing to Indiana without their starting quarterback. And it just doesn't make any sense. And then you want to talk about no top 25 wins. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Georgia, who has 2 losses and is, 3 or 4 spots ahead of Indiana, I don't think they have any top 25 wins either. Like, it just doesn't make it.
But Indiana does. They were just at the time, I guess.
Indiana should, the only team, you could put potentially 2 teams ahead of Indiana that are ahead of them currently, that are after the top 5 or 6. And that's Cincinnati, who's still undefeated and has looked really good. I don't have a problem with that.
Crap, but they look good because they don't play anybody.
And I don't have a problem with Miami either because their only loss was to Clemson. So you can at least make an argument for those 2 teams. Everybody else, Oklahoma, they have 2 losses.
Talk about
Iowa
Cincinnati,
State.
though. Let's talk about Cincinnati, though. They've beaten no one. They play no one, and they've beaten no one. So, yeah, they look good. They're good. BYU look good, too.
That's
until you ran them up against a decent team, and Coastal Carolina is not going to compete with these other teams. So how bad is the BYU? BYU actually was not that good because they didn't play anybody. I don't understand this love affair with these Cincinnati's, the BYUs, and the Coastal Carolinas because, they haven't lost. Well, it's because they haven't played anybody. I mean, you look what happens when BYU I don't understand why, but what is it benefiting them to keep? Indiana's coming. If they were a flash in the pan, that's the thing. They're not. I don't think they're going anywhere.
Do you know what's really weird about this whole thing, too? This is not even on the Indiana front, but if I'm the selection committee and I have Ohio State at number 4 and they have played half as many games as everybody else in the top 6 or 7, whatever it is, why would you not put Indiana higher? Why would you not say, you know what, that was a really good win. That was a top 10 win. That's going to justify, because Ohio State has no other impressive wins. They beat Nebraska. They beat Michigan State. They beat Rutgers.
You have your own agenda.
That's what I'm saying.
On this committee. It is the who is on this committee. And here's the biggest thing. Indiana has lost all of its power in the Big Ten. You've got a lame duck president who never fought for Indiana and athletics. Mm-hmm. So you got a guy that never fought anyway, and he's a lame duck on top of that. So you've got nobody. You've got no one there in that regard. You've got a rookie AD who just came into the job, had never been an AD before. So those other guys, Barry Alvarez, he's like, yeah, come here, son. Here, sit down at the table. I'll tell you, we're going to tell you what you're going to do and when you're going to say it. And I truly think that Indiana's lost a lot of their power in the Big Ten. The basketball program is not dominant. It used to have a dominant basketball program, and it was that was the engine that drove the train.
Right.
Not so much anymore. And so you've lost a ton of power in the Big Ten. And that's just a fact.
And the disappointing thing is, what Indiana released yesterday, I would have had a much more stern letter that I prepared and sent out. I know that they have to, what's going to happen. Look at what Nebraska and Ohio State did in the offseason when they were trying to get football back. I mean, they were basically calling out the Big Ten, even James Franklin at Penn State. And I know that he didn't bash the decision. He just wanted an explanation. But you look at some of these other programs, what's the Big Ten going to do? They're not going to kick Indiana out. Are you kidding me? You need to go out and you need to be stern and say, you know what, we disagree with this decision entirely, and we're going to try to fight this tooth and nail. I understand why the Big Ten made the move it did, but I'm like you. You need to come out and say, you know what, if we get this, it's going to be $6 million or whatever the total is in our pockets, and that's going to benefit all 14 of our programs. So if that's the case, which it is, then you need to just come out and say it. And like you said, I would have much less of a problem if you just came out and said, you know what, the end goal here is to get Ohio State in the college football playoff. Putting a Big Ten championship title next to their name is going to help us do that. And we need the money because it's a pandemic year. So this is why we're making that decision. Like I said, from the beginning, I understand why the Big Ten is making this decision, but I have a problem with the fact that you do it a week and a half before you're scheduled to do this. Why did you not talk about it in week 2 or 3 when Wisconsin had to cancel 2 or 3 games? It doesn't make any sense to me why you do it right now. And, you could talk about Ohio State playing it on proving it on the field. Yeah, they won the head-to-head against Indiana. But number one, Indiana would have been they would have been in a better spot to cancel that game and say, you know what? We'll take our chances. We think we can play more games than Ohio State this season. They would have been in the Big Ten championship game. They probably would have amended the rules there and eliminated divisions at that point so they could have an Indiana-Ohio State matchup. But at least you would have been in the Big Ten championship game. It's just been a complete and utter lack of leadership. And it was Pat McAfee summed it up best yesterday, calling it a cluster bleep of embarrassment. And I can't think of a better 3-word phrase to sum up this entire Big Ten football season.
And at the head of that cluster is Kevin Warren. Where is Kevin Warren? Has he even stuck his head out of his little hole yet?
I'm pretty sure Barry Alvarez is running the conference.
Well, there's no doubt about that. I mean, I've already said that. The commissioner of the Big Ten is Barry Alvarez. Kevin Warren is a figurehead. It's like he sticks his. It's like he's like on that old game on the. What was it? I don't watch those stupid game shows. Price is Right, Whack-A-Mole, or whatever. They stick their head up.
Yep.
Has he stuck his head up out of his little hole yet? I still haven't seen him. How in the world do you have this kind of thing going on in what was the most powerful conference in a college conference in athletics? And this guy's where is he?
And do you think that Greg Sankey in the SEC would have allowed one of his ADs to speak for him, or Bob Bowlesby?
You think Jim Delaney would allow an AD to speak for him?
Yeah, exactly. Jim Delaney would have said, nope, back off. I got this. You need to be out in front of this stuff. He needed to be out in front of it back in the summer when they were doing all this stuff and he was dead silent. And he needed to be out in front of it after midway through the season and say, you know what? We may not hit this 6-game requirement. It's a stupid requirement, which it was in the first place anyway. But we might amend these rules. Don't wait until the very last second. The fact is, and this was a great summary of this, it's not the fact that you changed the rules for Ohio State. It's that you changed the rules only for Ohio State. Because you go back to week 2, they did not allow Nebraska to schedule a game against UT Chattanooga that had no impact on anybody else in the Big Ten. It had no impact on the Big Ten whatsoever. It would have allowed Nebraska to play another game. It doesn't have any impact on the rankings or the standings or anything like that. And so that's what the really frustrating part is for me. I can live ultimately with the decision of letting Ohio State in, but you're only changing the rules for them. And I think that's wrong.
It is. And that's a precedent now that you've set. Not only that, I posted something yesterday. How in the world are you going to ask student athletes, follow the rules, make sure you follow the rules as long as you. Well, what happens if the rules doesn't suit my needs? Can I change the rule? What you did?
Yeah, that's a great point. That's an excellent point and especially it's not like Indiana is 5-1 and Ohio State's 5-0, where it's one game. Indiana essentially is going to make it through this whole season. Now, obviously the old Oaken Bucket game is canceled, but they're going to essentially make it through this whole season. And because Ohio State didn't have it, and some of the things were out of Ohio State's control, I understand, but. I mean, you set this rule, you set a precedent, and like you said, why would the kids follow the rules if the Big Ten's going to change them at the last second? It just doesn't make any sense.
But seriously, the Big Ten, the most powerful athletic conference in college athletics, it will not be very soon, and I'm not kidding. Things change, and they change for reasons. Here's a reason: you've got nobody at the top. You've got a rudderless ship right now that is out there just running in circles. It looks like Bart Simpson out there oaring around with one oar. It's not working, but it's going. The ship is sinking. It's not like it's going to sink, but it's taking on water, and you're going to have to. It's not going to sink, but you're going to have to fix this. You're going to have to clean all that mess up. Why they continue to let water pour onto this ship? And I know that I'm not talking about you got to make a move with the commissioner right now. That's not going to happen. I don't know that happens, period. The Big Ten would not, I think that would make them look even worse. But I don't know. That's not true. I think not having a leader looks worse, but they're not going to do anything. That's the problem.
Right.
They haven't done anything and nobody's complaining. Everything's all this unanimous crap. Well, we unanimously voted. No, you didn't. You want to tell me that was a 14-0 vote or whatever? I want to know what the damn vote was. Did Indiana vote that was okay? I'd like to know that. Did Scott Dolson say that was okay?
Right.
I want to know what was the vote. I don't want to hear this unanimous crap. That's another thing. They're so untransparent, and he's so unbelievable. He looks like as soon as it's like there's a reason you don't see him speak, I guess, because he doesn't look believable.
Yeah, well,
who believes him?
Well, you go back to when they canceled the season in his interview with the Big Ten Network. It was terrible. They had no concise plan. They had no details. They had no, I don't want to say they had no science, but they had faulty science at best to cancel the season based on what was coming out of the University of Michigan. Their lead virologist or cardiologist, I can't remember what it was, but I mean,
we're late to hit the break again. We got to hit a break. We got to get our producer to remind us on that stuff there. Hey, you got a lot more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat. We'll be talking to who we talked to. Adam Spencer is going to join us later from Saturday Down South, and so looking forward to that. But we'll be back with more coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Hey, this is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're now a part of the Rivals Network. TheHoosier.com is where you'll find complete coverage of the Indiana Hoosiers, as well as coverage of the Big Ten. Simply go to TheHoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also catch Indiana Sports Beat Radio there each day at your convenience, or you can find it any place you podcast or on this station each weekday. If we're not on the station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
Does your bank offer the personal service of a community bank combined with big bank products that you expect? I'm Dane Chandler, Banking Center Manager with Banterra, and with our bank, you get the best of both worlds. Our easy-to-use mobile app includes conveniences like mobile check deposit. We offer competitive CD and money market rates, smart mortgage options, and unmatched business products and services. Switching to Banterra is easy. Stop by our locations to learn more. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
The college and pro football seasons bring friends together, and Leroy's Tavern is a place to watch all the games every week with the NFL Sunday Ticket while enjoying $1 Busch Light drafts every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. Leroy's Tavern also features a $6 daily lunch special from 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Monday through Friday, featuring a sandwich, fries, or onion rings, or a 7-inch pizza and a non-alcoholic drink for just $6. Be part of the karaoke fun every Friday and Saturday night. Leroy's Tavern, a West Side tradition for 50 years at 2659 Mount Vernon Avenue.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat coming to you from the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios on this Thursday. Justin Schutte with me, Jim Coyle here, and talking about some Indiana football, basketball, Big Ten. Going at it. Kevin Warren. Where's Kevin Warren? Nobody knows.
We need like a Where's Waldo book, but just dedicated. 14 pages.
Commercial back in the day. Mitch McConnell was running for when he was first running for office. I think the guy he beat, that was his thing. Where's such and such? And he had a commercial of these hound dogs out searching for where's whatever. But yeah, it's the Big Ten mess. It's how they handle it. Mm-hmm. The Big Ten, Ohio State is the best team in the Big Ten from what it appears. Indiana's right there. Could have beat them, didn't. But this is how it's been from the minute everything that Kevin Warren has screwed up. It's been how he's handled it, and which has been horribly. How do you continue to make mistake or just handle things, be so bad at your job? How much does this guy get paid?
Well,
and why is that acceptable? He has made them look like the laughing stock of college athletics. They have taken the proudest, most bonus conference there is, like I've said, and they're turning it into a joke.
Yeah, somebody said to me the other day, the old division names used to be leaders and legends, and it's really kind of changed into losers and laughing stocks over this past year. I thought that was pretty good. But the thing that sticks out to me, and I thought this was hilarious, because when Kevin Warren issued a statement, I think he was at some symposium or something the other day, and issued a statement on this whole situation when Ohio State Michigan was canceled. He said it was key to be transparent. And I laughed at that because throughout his tenure, his brief tenure as the Big Ten commissioner, he's not been transparent. And obviously this is the most difficult year anybody could imagine, and it doesn't help that he's a first-year commissioner. So you have to cut him some slack. The problem is that you can at the very least, I think a lot of this, 50% of these issues could be wiped away if you were just open, if you were honest, if you were transparent, if you had explanations.
Have the ability to do any of that.
And not only for football season, but you had similar complaints when basketball was rolling around, when they were trying to get schedules figured out, and they said, we have no idea what's going on. It's like, how could you not learn in that 3 or 4 months between the football season and between the basketball season? At least you need to talk with these people. You need to be in touch with the presidents, the ADs, the coaches. These people are on the ground. You can't just sit atop in Chicago or wherever he is. I don't even know if he's in Chicago. Like you said, who knows? We need a book of 15 pages, all 14 college towns in the city of Chicago, and maybe we can find him. But he needs to have explanations. He needs to have answers. He should have a press conference, in my opinion, on Big Ten, not press conference, but an interview on Big Ten Network every week. I mean, it's just been such an utter lack of leadership. And like I said, we can't blame everything on him because the presidents and chancellors do have a role in this. The pandemic does have a role in this. But again, I sound like a broken record, but you have to be transparent. You have to provide explanations. You have to keep people in the loop. And he's just apparently done none of that from the very beginning.
And another thing I have an issue with, whenever there's a conference deal, why are the presidents voting? The presidents needed to stay out of it. You have an athletic director who is your COO of that business. That is what they do, running that business. They alone should be the people involved in anything to do with Big Ten athletics. Now, of course, you have to get permission from the bosses like anything else. But I don't want them voting. They don't know a damn thing about any of it. I mean, do you really want Michael McRobbie voting on anything to do with athletics in the Big Ten? No, nobody does.
So. Right.
No, and he shouldn't be because he don't know the first damn thing about it and doesn't care is the worst thing. And that's a problem. You don't know who does and who doesn't care. You know every athletic director cares. That's what they do. They care. That's their job to care. And it's just, I think it's idiotic. I think it is hypocritical. And they continue to be hypocritical. When you want to talk about all they care about is the safety and wellness of their student athletes, that's a load of crap. That is the biggest load of crap I've ever heard, and it's never been more evident than it is right now.
Well, and let me just point this out too, because this is why, some people will point out that it was smart of the Big Ten to delay, to wait and see what was going to happen. They had the health and safety of the players in mind. At the same time, what have we known since basically last May? What have the experts been telling us since May? There's going to be a spike of COVID in the winter months. It's flu season, it's cold season, and we're going to have a spike. People are going to be indoors. It's going to be cold. This thing's going to flourish in the cold weather and with people indoors and that sort of thing. And so you can't tell me that you have a plan for the health and safety of the student athletes when you're going to have them play sports in the time when it's going to be most contagious or you're going to have a second surge. That just doesn't make any sense. You can't say that it was out of health and safety in August and then say we're going to be fine in December and January. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So that's always been, I've always kind of argued against that because, and whatever, but that's been the biggest thing that they've been hiding behind. And I just don't think there's any factual evidence behind that in their defense.
Wisconsin got a win last night over Rhode Island, 73-62, or Richmond. Number 19 to Richmond. The Spiders ranked after their win over Kentucky. Who they beat? Northern Illinois, looks like. West Virginia, canceled. Texas Tech, let's see, Tennessee, we already said that. Texas beat Texas State by 20. I don't see any other Big Ten games. I know there were very few last night. Michigan State and Virginia canceled. I mean, I was really looking forward to watching that game. But I think the ACC Big Ten Challenge, I think is it over, done, complete? I know the Big Ten went 6-1 the first night, so it's pretty much an insurmountable lead for the Big Ten.
I don't know how that Northwestern Pitt game ended out. I know Northwestern started off hot, but the Big Ten was 0-3 last night. I don't know how that game finished up. So, but they say that they're trying to reschedule Michigan, North Carolina State, and Wisconsin, Louisville. Whether or not they're able to do it, or whether it's going to count for the ACC Big Ten Challenge total, I don't know. But those are the games that are left. And like I said, I don't know how the Northwestern Pitt game ended, but
it'll be interesting to see because those will be some good games too. I'd like to see those games.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that turns out. Louisville, they've got their own problems dealing with the NCAA. How about Coach K talking about that we shouldn't even be playing right now? Man, it's easy. He's going to get paid his $6-7 million a year, whatever he makes. That's a bad statement, I think.
Well, I think so too, because, we talk about, the health and the mental health and what this has done to student athletes, being quarantined and not being able to be around their friends and partying. It seems like for a lot of these student athletes that the sport, playing what they love and being around some of their teammates, it's what's, giving, I don't want to say it's giving them purpose, but, it gives them motivation. It gives them something to look forward to. And it's safer. And so Coach K has always had.
This is Krzyzewski trying to be one of these guys that's, let me act like I'm holier than thou, blah, 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 crap.
To me, that's one of the things. The other thing to me is Coach K has a history, and it's not a lot, but it's occasional. When they lose a game or lose a couple games, he's been known to make an excuse. And then he says, well, I'm not making excuses, but I think that and then he talked about Wednesday. He was in a much better state and was talking about how Illinois actually won the game and what Duke was struggling with. I think that was out of frustration. I don't know if he might actually believe that. I don't know. But Coach K does have a history of making those kind of comments after a loss or after a couple losses. And so to me, I just kind of brushed it off because I didn't think much of it other than he was frustrated and his team played poorly, and he was going to find an excuse for one reason or another to get beat by 15 points by Illinois at home.
He lost at home back-to-back Big Ten games.
Yep.
He lost to Michigan State prior to that. So the Big Ten has gone down to Cameron and won back-to-back games there this season to start the year off.
Makes quite a difference when there aren't any Cameron crazes in the building, doesn't it?
Makes quite a difference when the FBI investigation puts a kibosh on your recruiting efforts, apparently.
Well,
Funny how Kentucky and Duke. It's funny how Kentucky and Duke's recruiting has just went into the trash all of a sudden. How's that happen? Really?
And
you lead the nation in recruiting for over a decade? Yeah. All of a sudden, the FBI investigation and all of a sudden recruiting falls apart? I'm sure it's just a coincidence. I'm sure Kentucky and Duke's horrible starts and horrible recruiting, they don't have the talent. I'm sure it's just a coincidence. What else could it be?
How about the news yesterday, Jim, from LSU? They put a self-imposed 1-year bowl ban for the two.
I broke that down to talk about. Yeah, self-imposed.
3-5.
Mike DeCourcy sent that tweet out. What did he call it? So that's oh my god, I laughed so hard. But
it was. I think he jokingly called it courageous or something like that.
Yes, how courageous is that of them? How courageous! They may be the most corrupt. The corruption right there. They stole a national championship. There's no doubt. All the crap that's been coming out about that program and stuff. That's a short period of time That's a lot of stuff coming out of there in a very, very short period of time. Under Ed Orgeron, man, we don't care whatever it takes to win a national championship here. The Bengal Tiger's going to get it done. And he has got it done. But there's all that they have got more. This is old school SEC football here, baby. You got rampant cheating going on down there.
And you see such a drop-off. You had a once-in-a-lifetime team, to win the 2019 national championship, and then I know they lost a ton of talent. I know they had guys that opt out, but that's the drop-off? Like that's the gap? Come on now.
You can't get that high and that far that fast without it being something.
I don't remember anything quite like it, and I'm sure it's happened before.
Maybe seen the movie Blue Chips?
Well, that, yes. Well, okay. Okay, I'm gonna say I don't remember seeing it. Maybe USC. Maybe it happened at USC. I don't remember. I don't remember there being such a.
Theirs was a longer burst, though. At least theirs lasted. They had an arc. LSU was a rocket ship going straight up and straight back down.
And the thing is I don't remember. I feel like USC's was kind of a gradual decline. I don't remember, but it just doesn't make any sense. And we talk about the football program, but don't forget. Will Wade's still the head basketball coach at LSU, right? I mean, that is the whole athletic department at LSU. There's going to be, within the next 5 to 10 years, there's going to be a 30 for 30 on this, and it's going to be incredibly interesting. I would say it's going to challenge that. What was the one early, like the Pony Excess or Pony Express or whatever it was about SMU? I think we're going to see something similar out of LSU. I mean, I'm not this is just pure speculation, reckless speculation. But there's some.
We're not just talking about cheating. We're talking about some really reckless, some criminal activity here. Some bad stuff, and this is Louisiana. That's what the state is built on, man. I love it. It's fun. I love to go down there but that's the truth. They have a long history of that. So. But oh well, man, it's with the NCAA, it's these schools who cares? The benefit is greater than the detriment with the NCAA. Yep. The benefit is greater than the detriment. They made more money than they're going to lose. They got more exposure than they're going to lose. Their benefits were better. They got a national championship that the NCAA will not take away. So the benefits were greater than the detriment.
Right. And I still, even if they did take it away, to me, there's like, what does that prove? Like you have to have harsh repercussions. And I think Bob Knight said this several years ago, and I think he was referring to Coach Cal. We've had a guy who had put two programs, UMass and Memphis, on probation or NCAA. I don't remember what the penalties were, and he was still allowed to coach college basketball. And that's the kind of stuff you have to get those guys out of there. You shouldn't necessarily. I mean, you have to punish the school, but the fact that you allow these coaches to continue to coach college basketball or college football, that's where the real problem lies.
And not only you allow them to do that, you allow them to stay around these kids. You're paying them an exorbitant amount of money to do it. Mm-hmm. They're still how they're still the Greg Marshalls of the world. How are they still out there? Yeah. How do they still survive? I mean, I grew up in an era that coaches were much tougher.
Hey guys, we got to
hit a break. A lot of stuff I see today, but it wasn't like that. I mean, to me, they were tougher than these guys, but these guys, the stuff that he did, it was a little too much personal. And I don't know how that guy survives today. Bob Knight lasted as long as he did. He won. Bob Knight won national. Bob Knight was a big time winner. Greg Marshall's not a winner. He's done okay, but he's not a winner. What has he ever won a national championship? Has he won a gold medal? What's he done? Nothing.
Right.
So I don't understand. The only times you usually see with people make exceptions for that is when they won. He didn't win. So how the hell does a guy like that how's he still out there?
Well, he's not anymore.
Well, I know now, but finally, how was he still out there? That's not like, I mean, his wife is a certified
crazy person.
There you go. I didn't say it, so maybe that's good there. But she yells. She was the lady that yelled at the games. You could hear her on the television. It's just why as a school? Why do you want? I don't know why you would want that as a school. He's never been a good look to me, and they've never changed it.
Yeah, it's crazy, and we'll see where Wichita State goes. But I would be surprised if Greg Marshall gets another job at the NCAA level. But then again, we see this all the time, so he could be back in 2 or 3 years. Who knows?
I don't think so. Cheating is one thing. Cheating they'll forgive you for. Kelvin Sampson.
That's true.
Especially when the stuff you get accused of cheating of, they change the damn rule the next year. Seriously, I mean
that is true.
So that's a lot different than physical abuse and verbal abuse and all that stuff. I don't see him back in the college game. I agree with you. We got a lot more to talk about coming up. Your boy's gonna join us? Coming up next, Adam Spencer from the Saturday Tradition down south. We'll talk some more basketball, talk a little football. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat. We're coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. We'll back with more right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Hey, this is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're now a part of the Rivals Network. TheHoosier.com is where you'll find complete coverage of the Indiana Hoosiers, as well as coverage of the Big Ten. Simply go to TheHoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also catch Indiana Sports Beat Radio there each day at your convenience, or you can find it any place you podcast or on this station each weekday. If we're not on the station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
Does your bank offer the personal service of a community bank combined with big bank products that you expect? I'm Dane Chandler, Banking Center Manager with Banterra, and with our bank, you get the best of both worlds. Our easy-to-use mobile app includes conveniences like mobile check deposit. We offer competitive CD and money market rates, smart mortgage options, and unmatched business products and services. Switching to Banterra is easy. Stop by our locations to learn more. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
The college and pro football seasons bring friends together, and Leroy's Tavern is a place to watch all the games every week with the NFL Sunday Ticket while enjoying $1 Busch Light drafts every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. Leroy's Tavern also features a $6 daily lunch special from 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Monday through Friday, featuring a sandwich, fries, or onion rings, or a 7-inch pizza and a non-alcoholic drink for just $6. Be part of the karaoke fun every Friday and Saturday night. Leroy's Tavern, a West Side tradition for 50 years at 2659 Mount Vernon Avenue.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
Cannot complain. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you here on this Thursday from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Joined now by Adam Spencer from Saturday Down South. How's it going, man?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me on, guys.
Oh, you bet. Dustin Schutte here as well. You guys know each other.
Mm-hmm. We sure do.
We were talking. There's all kinds of stuff we've been wrapping here today. We were talking about Indiana, of course, last night taking on Florida State out in Tallahassee, a game that I was surprised Indiana played a lot better than I expected. Was in that game and had their chances to win, but couldn't pull it out. But I was surprised to see the effort they put in there.
Yeah, I mean that's a Florida State team that I know people are still high on, but they lost Devin Vassell to the NBA. They lost the other guy, I forget his name right now, who went even higher, Patrick Williams. So that's a team they've only played one game too, so they're still trying to get their footing a little bit. But yeah, I mean Indiana still looked really good and Trace is going to be a round one pick, I think, this year. He made the right call coming back to school.
You think this is going to be his last year?
I really think so.
Well, he is playing at a higher level earlier than I thought. I mean, I was talking to Dustin earlier about that Texas game. They basically just beat the crap out of him and just took him out and beat him up. And he went back and said, okay, and came back. Last night was a different player, man. He was challenging those bigs. He was enjoying challenging those bigs, and he was loving it, and he was succeeding at it. What a night. I had his stat line pulled up. It was 25 points and 17 rebounds. That is a big boy stat line.
Oh yeah, that's big time, and I think he needed that wake up call though a little bit against Texas. These guys that they need to realize that it's night in, night out that they have to be bringing their A game like that, and when he brings his A game, he can do that against anybody. There's nobody who can really slow him down when he wants to get where he wants to go and do the sort of things that he was doing against Florida State.
Yeah, Indiana's still going to need to get Joey Brunk back, though, when you get into Big Ten play and you start playing these teams that have that length. A guy like Luka Garza, though, because he's not going to be playing in the paint only half the time. He can step out and knock it down on you, so he can drag you around.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a lot of fun to watch. I know his scoring streak, I think it was like 20 points in a crazy amount of games in a row. It came to an end against North Carolina, but man, I mean, there wasn't a moment when he wasn't making his impact on that game. He was just all over the place. He can do, like you said, he can step out, he can go. He had all three North Carolina big guys in foul trouble early in that game. So, that's just the kind of player he is. And, if he keeps doing this sort of stuff, I think he's a lock to be the player of the year at this point.
The Big Ten ACC Challenge start the first night. Big Ten goes like 6-1, and then Dustin pointed out, I think they may have gone 0-3 last night. Pitt ended up winning that game by a point over who was it? I said Northwestern. And Indiana loses, of course. Somebody else, Purdue. Well, Purdue gave up a 20-point lead against Miami the other night. They were the only team that lost that day, I believe.
Yeah, I mean that was that was a disappointing effort for Matt Painter's crew. That's that would have been a real statement to go 7-0 against the ACC in a night. And but I mean that was the first game, so it was like, oh man, what are we in for Big Ten wise here in this challenge? But then things turned around, and and now it's like, come on, Purdue, what are you doing? Like that's a game you got to win there. But that I think that they're still going to be fine. I mean, that's a team that's got some size, and I mean they're going to miss Matt Harms a little bit, but BYU just lost to Boise State last night too, so everybody's having some struggles, I guess, this early in the season.
Have we gotten a better indication of the Big Ten, what it's going to look like with these games? I mean, I was talking to Dustin earlier as well. You've had two teams go down to Cameron back to back now and come out of there with wins. 6-1 against the AC. Man, the Big Ten is looking like what we're hearing. They're looking strong.
Yeah, I think that they're easily the best conference in the country this year. I mean, they have 4 legit top 10 teams. I know Wisconsin lost to Marquette on that crazy tip-in, but that's still a top 10 team in my opinion. And I don't think that the ACC really has that. Virginia's struggled. Duke's not playing as I thought that they were overrated coming into the year anyway. And then North Carolina has been up and down a little bit. So it's going to be a longer year in the ACC just because they don't have those elite teams. Whereas the Big Ten, I think, has 4 of them in Iowa, Illinois, Michigan State, and even Wisconsin. Moving forward, they're going to continue to be tough with their seniors.
You talk about sorry, Jim, but you talk about the ACC not having kind of those elite teams that they've had in the past, maybe this season, or the depth that the Big Ten does. But one team that kind of has stood out to me early is Clemson. They beat Purdue in a neutral court game, and then they just pounded Maryland last night. Is that more of a credit to Clemson? Are they the real deal this season? Could they be a sleeper team, or is Maryland and Purdue just down teams right now?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think Clemson, they also beat Mississippi State, but that's a team that I have, pretty low in my SEC power rankings. So, Clemson's good. I mean, they've got Newman, who's really leading the way for them, and that's a good team. But Newman. They're they're not that top tier of ACC team, but they're right there in that second tier, and I think that's what you can say about Maryland too. I think even Maryland might be like a third tier Big Ten team behind that top four that I mentioned, and then you have Michigan and Rutgers maybe in that second tier, and then Maryland's. So yeah, Maryland's down for sure. I mean, when you lose a guy like Jalen Smith, I mean that's a tough guy to replace. So. I think that they're going to have some growing pains this year, and I think we saw that against an experienced Clemson team.
This is not a time that you want to be in that area of the Big Ten. Man, that sounds like a lot of beatings this season. If you're on the bottom third of the Big Ten, it's going to be it's going to be a long year.
Yeah, and I think that's why Wisconsin is up in that top tier, is just because they have that experience returning, and they like literally didn't lose anybody from last year, so they're just but with a team like Maryland, when you have to try to replace a star player, like those are the teams that we've seen that have struggled. Kentucky is 1-3 right now, and that's because in large part they're a bunch of guys who have never played together before, and those are the teams that have been hurt most by this whole COVID thing and not being able to practice and develop that chemistry. And that's why like a team like Mizzou in the SEC and the team like Illinois in the Big Ten, when you have these guys returning, like that's when you're in for some surprises, and you're going to get those teams up at the top of the rankings because they know where to look for their teammates.
You mentioned the SEC and Kentucky. I was just funny. We were just talking about that. Recruiting kind of off for Kentucky. Recruiting kind of off for Duke. Any coincidence that just happened to follow the FBI investigation and all of a sudden, boom? I mean, I'm just laughing, but I don't think that it is. You can't lead the nation in recruiting for over a decade, and all of a sudden that happened, and your recruiting goes dry, and it's, oh, yeah, that's just a coincidence.
Well, I mean, Kentucky still brought in the number one recruiting class this year. It's just, they didn't have the one like superstar, they don't have the Anthony Davis of the group, the John Wall of the group. But, I think that still, if this was a team that had gotten time to practice together, then we'd be talking about a much different team.
West back on the phone.
Yeah, I mean the guys that left for the Knicks. Yeah, you're right. I mean and Duke. I mean, they had a total down year recruiting, but the early signs on their 2021 class are like, watch out for that 2021 class at Duke. Is all I'm saying there.
The number one recruiting class. How can you be that bad? I don't understand how you can be that bad because you've got the number one recruiting class year after year after year after year, and you can be that bad. That's. Whew.
Yeah,
I'm having fun. See, it's easy to have fun with it. See, I've said 2 years ago, Calipari had 2 years left. He's got one more year left. The one and done era is the end of his career. He can't look. This is exactly what happens when he does not have everything you give it to him. When he doesn't have the superstars. Well, hell, I can win with superstars. Who can't? Who can't? And so yeah, it's one more year. You guys got one more year of that. In my opinion, we'll see.
Yeah, I think he's going to be there for a long time. I just don't. But we'll see. I mean, if he doesn't start winning more championships and getting to more Final Fours, then he's
only won one.
Yeah, I know those Kentucky fans aren't going to tolerate it for too much longer if he doesn't start getting to the big game.
Oh, that's absolutely. And look, what is the SEC going to be like? We talked about the ACC. We know about the Big Ten. That's SEC's kind of I know zip about them.
Yeah, I mean the SEC right now they only have the one ranked team, and when that team it's Tennessee, and when they were ranked, they were 0-0 because they had COVID issues. So when Kentucky fell out, that. But they have a couple teams that are right on the edge there. I mean, I think Florida is going to be ranked next week. there's a big bragging rights game coming up for Mizzou and Illinois this weekend. So, if Mizzou somehow wins that, they'll be ranked. And I think they should be ranked even if they keep that game close and lose, just because, that's a heck of an Illinois team, like we said. And, Mizzou's resume speaks for itself at this point. But, and then Arkansas, they're not playing anybody right now, but, they put up 140 something points in their season opener. And that's not something that bad teams necessarily do. So there's some talent there. It's just going to take some time to see some of these teams creep up into the top 25, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be, we saw from football that it's going to be an interesting year because, and it brings in the aspect of the fans, not having fans. We see it in football where you got Michigan, Ohio State, those places that have 100,000 people every game. And when you don't have that, it has made a difference. It's going to be the same for a team. Indiana may be one of those teams that feels that, because Assembly Hall, one of the places that is known as being a home court advantage, but it doesn't matter. Mackey is tough to play, of course, up at Michigan State. Those are not going to be there, and it's going to be interesting to see how that changes the dynamic of college basketball as well.
Yeah, well, I think we just saw that with Duke, like we were talking about. Just having Michigan State and Illinois come in back to back and just and win. That's unheard of under Coach K these past few years, and without the Cameron Crazies in there, I think that was a big. I think that was a big deal that they didn't have any sort of fan support in there, and we saw that the Big Ten teams took advantage of that.
They did, man. What's coming up next for you, Adam?
Not too much. Just diving back into seeing if we can get some more of these SEC teams ranked.
Yeah, well, we'll see about that. The Big Ten will see if they can. I wonder why there's not a. Well, I guess you already have the ACC Big Ten Challenge, but it'd also be nice if they could do a Big Ten SEC. That I'd like to see that.
I would love to see that.
Maybe in football one day. That would be something to see.
That would be cool. I'd like that.
Well, man, I appreciate you joining us, brother. I hope you have a good day the rest of the week.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Adam Spencer from Saturday Down South joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat. Appreciate you. Dustin, it's going to be a fun year. We've talked about that in football, and we did see that change. We just mentioned the Duke thing. It's already happening, and that really shows you, to me, you think of all these teams, you think of Michigan football and all that, all through the years. What would they have been like without those 100,000 people? Yeah. When you look at a team like – seriously, no, you look at a team like Indiana, who has been the opposite and had no fans. But you look at a school that has had that support, just the support, truly has made an unbelievable difference in those programs. You wonder why they keep succeeding? Well, it's a lot of different reasons. But when you when that doesn't change, those teams you don't see those teams be bad, because they always have an advantage, always, and it helps.
And it's no coincidence, in my opinion, that this is the first time, I believe in program history, this is the first season that Michigan did not win a home football game. With that game being canceled against Maryland, they did not win a home football game in 2020. So wow. I can tell you that fans would have made a difference, I think, in the Michigan State game, and I think it would have made a difference in the Penn State game. I think Indiana still would have beat Michigan. I don't think Michigan's great, but you're talking about a 7 to 14 point home field advantage, and those games were both decided within 14 points. So, who knows what would have happened, but that was an interesting and ugly stat.
Your offense can't communicate.
Yep.
And that makes a gigantic difference. If it's one play, if it's a miscommunication on one play that causes a pick six or whatever the case, it makes a hell of a difference. So it's been cool to see these teams just play head up, mano a mano, and it's been fun. I've enjoyed it. Hey, we got to take a break. We got a little more to go before we finish out here. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat. We're coming to you from hole number 6 here at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, and we're back with more right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs, Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Hey, this is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're now a part of the Rivals Network. TheHoosier.com is where you'll find complete coverage of the Indiana Hoosiers, as well as coverage of the Big Ten. Simply go to TheHoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also catch Indiana Sports Beat Radio there each day at your convenience, or you can find it any place you podcast or on this station each weekday. If we're not on the station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make it tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
Does your bank offer the personal service of a community bank combined with big bank products that you expect? I'm Dane Chandler, Banking Center Manager with Banterra, and with our bank, you get the best of both worlds. Our easy-to-use mobile app includes conveniences like mobile check deposit. We offer competitive CD and money market rates, smart mortgage options, and unmatched business products and services. Switching to Banterra is easy. Stop by our locations to learn more. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
The college and pro football seasons bring friends together, and Leroy's Tavern is a place to watch all the games every week with the NFL Sunday Ticket while enjoying $1 Busch Light drafts every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. Leroy's Tavern also features a $6 daily lunch special from 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Monday through Friday, featuring a sandwich, fries, or onion rings, or a 7-inch pizza and a non-alcoholic drink for just $6. Be part of the karaoke fun every Friday and Saturday night. Leroy's Tavern, a West Side tradition for 50 years at 2659 Mount Vernon Avenue.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
When my head's full of things that I can't mention.
Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat coming to you from the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios. Will busting out the tunes today, man. Digging on those. Dustin Schutte with me for the Saturday tradition.
Was that an ode to the Big Ten? Good intentions, but just fell short, or what was?
It was not
football
planned.
Season's almost over.
I know.
I was thinking about that yesterday when we had the Bucket game get canceled. You've had all these canceled, Michigan, Ohio State. I'm like, oh my God! You got to hope that. We got to hope that Indiana and Purdue are paused right now. Hope everything comes back okay. But what about the possibility, instead of playing the crossover or playing a hybrid, of making up Purdue, Indiana, Wisconsin, and Minnesota, making up those games? Northwestern will be playing Ohio State in the championship, obviously. Iowa, you got Iowa, and nobody for Iowa to play. That's good. I mean, you've only got two good teams in the East, Indiana and Ohio State, and they're taken if you do that.
Right.
It's either Iowa. Would Indiana be better off? I don't think Indiana really needs to do anything but win right now.
I
know that sounds.
What would be interesting is to run a poll and to see what Indiana fans who they would rather play. Would they rather play Purdue and get a win, or would you rather test yourself against Iowa and get the chance? I think playing Iowa, I know that it's going to end the 122 games that Indiana and Purdue have played, putting a pause on that, but they have a better chance to get to a New Year's Six Bowl by playing and beating Iowa. But at the same time,
they're already in the top 12. If they play and beat Purdue and handle business,
that's true.
They should not drop. And
that's correct.
You would think that somebody in front of them is going to drop. one team.
You'd think so, but are they going to?
Oklahoma. I'll tell you what. Oklahoma and Iowa State. One of them has to because they're going to play each other.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, one of them would have to.
And one of them would have 3 losses, and there is no way in ATLL you're going to put a 3-loss team up there. That would bring just chaos.
I mean, then you're just pretty much revealing your hand that the system is not built for a team like Indiana. So, but it's interesting. I mean, yeah, if they reschedule the Old Oak and Bucket game, Indiana takes care of business. But that Iowa-Indiana game with those 2 defenses, I think that would be a lot of fun to watch. I just don't think Purdue's off the rails right now. They're lost 4 straight. They've had guys opt out, hit the transfer portal. There's some issues going on right now in West Lafayette.
Purdue has no interest in playing Indiana.
I don't think so.
I mean, why would you? You've lost, I think, 6 out of the last 8, or is it 5 out of the last 7? They've lost 5 out of the last 7 games. The 2 that they won, I think they barely won. There would be a prohibitive underdog in this game. It does not do anything for Jeff Brom. It does not help Purdue's recruiting because Indiana is taking over. David Bell and Rondell Moore, who were 2 of the superstars of this state and went there thinking that they were going to get some of that Jeff Brom magic. It didn't happen. And their careers are going to just fizzle. They're going to have a very, very mundane career. And they're going to see, man, we could have went to Indiana and played in the Fiesta Bowl or something. And then these other kids are going to see this. The next row. And I think that's where Indiana's recruiting is going to take off.
Well, you're already seeing it because Purdue right now is last in the Big Ten in the 2021 recruiting class, and they're in the 70s, or they were in the 70s. I know they got a couple commitments over the weekend, but they were in the 70s. So the recruiting is not going well. Teams are starting to notice, and Indiana is starting to recruit the state of Indiana really well. And obviously Tom Allen has that pipeline to Florida. But if Purdue's offense has not looked great this season. And when that's out of the back, like they're not recruiting offensive linemen. They're not recruiting defensive players at a high level. They have George Karloftis, who's a really good defensive lineman. They got him. We'll see what happens, but this is not a good year. And Purdue's going to have to win fast. Otherwise, Jeff Brom is going to be on the hot seat. He's getting paid a lot of money. And this looks a lot like the Danny Hope era, or it's starting to. And that Ohio State win from 2018, that's starting to really wear off, and fans are getting frustrated by it. So, yeah, maybe not playing Indiana and getting beat in that game might actually help Purdue, as crazy as that sounds.
Yeah, it's a little surprising. I mean, Jeff, great coach, and when he went there, landed those guys, and everything was just peaches and cream, and Louisville couldn't get him away because they couldn't afford him because they just paid Petrino all that money, and it looked like it's going to be. And I kind of thought, I was like, I was worried for Indiana. I'm like, oh wow, because I know how good a coach Jeff Brom is. He's an offensive. He's a good mind, and obviously kids want to go play for him. That's why David Bell and Rondell Moore are at Purdue. Right. So I was concerned for Indiana, and then knowing that they don't have that dynamic thing in Bloomington. They didn't have that dynamic name, but it didn't matter. Indiana was able to just stay the course. Tom Allen stay the course, and buddy, that train is just running people over.
And it's getting a ton of national attention, which Purdue never really did. They got that, like I said, they got that big win over Ohio State that put them on the map for a little bit. And Rondale Moore obviously was the talk of the town. But since then, it's been all Indiana. I mean, they are all over the national news. That's a great recruiting tool, especially the year in a pandemic when kids can't take official or unofficial visits, can't visit the campus, can't see the coach face-to-face. All that exposure is really, really paying off for Indiana right now. And I think you're going to continue to see it on the recruiting trail. And like I said, Purdue's going to have to figure something out, because if they are getting out recruited by Indiana, they already lost last decade. They'll lose another decade too.
Yeah. And, but the difference here, before that was just a fight between Indiana and Purdue kind of back and forth. Indiana's looking to take that to another level and move into the high-rise apartments of the Big Ten East. That's right. A whole different animal, because then now you're not talking about losing games. Then you start talking about losing beatdowns. And if that starts to happen on a regular basis, it's over, baby.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like it could be there. We'll see what happens when Purdue's healthy, maybe next year. I think they'll be more competitive, but like I said, they have to start winning and fast. Otherwise, Jeff Brom's seat is going to get a lot hotter a lot quicker.
Let's see what games we get on tap tonight. Basketball side. I hit the wrong button. Anybody playing tonight that you're looking forward to seeing? I don't see. Arizona State.
I don't remember if there were any Big Ten games tonight. Maybe.
No,
I don't remember.
I don't think that there are, but I see there's Arizona State and San Diego State maybe. But we'll see. But appreciate everybody joining us here today, as always. Thanks a lot to Adam Spencer. It was fun talking to him. Had not got to talk to him before, but kind of fun. You guys, how long have you known Adam? Oh, you lost it there. Anyway, but appreciate Dustin Schutte as always. Well, tomorrow we're back at it. Verdell Jones on with us. Of course, AJ Guyton. Talk about his latest podcast that he's got out with Isaiah Thomas. So it'd be cool, interesting to talk to that, man. But appreciate everybody as always. Hey, make sure you go to the YouTube page and like that, subscribe. That's where you can also get the post-game show, everything. We've never really pushed that, but need to start pushing that. So go subscribe for us. We'd appreciate it very much. Dustin, I hope you have a great weekend, brother.
Hey, thanks, Jim. Appreciate it. It's always fun. We'll talk to you next Thursday.
I can't wait. We'll do it. And then until then, we'll be back tomorrow. Make sure you go out, do something nice for somebody, but along the way, make sure you're wearing your mask, please. And until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.